Welcome to this gentle practice for your luteal phase. This one is designed to support those few days leading up to your period and even during the first few days of your heaviest bleed. This practice is as much for your mind as it is for your body. So the idea is to create a space where you can do less and be more. So you want to create that sense of presence. We want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system to help kind of balance any internal stress and inflammation that might be arising. So this is that time where hormones are dropping off. You might see a decrease in energy levels and an increase in inflammation. So we're moving very slowly. We're working through a short practice with longer holds that allow us to really drop in. So this is a great recovery day practice, one that helps you continue to show up in a way that supports your body, where you're not hitting the override button and you're not burning out your resources. So before we get started, just a few items that might be nice to have for comfort. I'm sitting on a thick rolled up blanket that can be helpful to support the sitting bones. I'm also going to be demonstrating with 2 firm yoga blocks today. If you don't have something like this, you can use a small stool. You can also use a chair for kind of that added layer of support. It just brings the level of the ground up a little bit so that you're not having to strain to hold any of these postures. We'll be in each one for about 2 minutes. So you want to have props that allow you to rest comfortably, to just be in the pose. So again, if you don't have the yoga blocks, you can use built up pillows. Sometimes a really sturdy couch cushion can be great. Or like I said, a small stool or a small chair that you can kind of rest some pressure on. So we'll get started in a seated position, whatever that looks like for you. Just get comfortable. Maybe you're sitting on that cushioned surface on a blanket. And allow your mind to arrive inside your body. So often we sort of compartmentalize and we allow kind of our presence, our consciousness to be in different places at once. So maybe close the eyes and just welcome your attention into the body. A great way to do that is through observing the breath in and out through the nose. So let the breath be your anchor. It's happening right now, moment by moment. And as best as you can, keep your inhales slow and smooth through the nose, and likewise the exhales through the nose, lengthening the exhales as is available to you. That helps really engage the diaphragm. It helps deliver oxygen deep into the lungs to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode that facilitates better recovery. And then from here, we'll just start to further connect body and breath. So we'll take an inhale, reach the arms overhead, stretch the fingertips tall, interlace the fingers, press nice and slow with open palms down as you exhale. On the inhale, turn the hands inside out, reach the arms overhead, big breath. And exhale, slowly let that go, arms by your sides. Twice more like that. Inhale, reach up. See if you can map the movement onto the breath. So time it to finish at the top, and then exhale, press the palms down. Keep the spine lifting. Inhale, turn the hands inside out, stretch the arms. And exhale, soften the fingertips down by your sides, nice and slow. Last one here, inhale. See if you can time that movement with your breath. Exhale, press the palms. Inhale, turn the hands up towards the sky, stretch the arms. And exhale, release. Take your hands to your knees, circle the torso side to side here, moving through both extension as you come forward and that flexion as you come back. So rounding and lengthening the spine, reverse directions. See if you can take out any of the hard edges. Just allow this to be slow and smooth. Continuing that deep belly breath, so maintaining the connection there. And then come up through center, big breath in, reach the arms overhead. Take your left hand down by your side, right arm stretches up and over to the left. So we're just moving the body a little bit before we drop into stillness. Sometimes it's hard to just move straight into these longer holds. So we're letting the body move. We're creating some circulation, some breath. Inhale, come up. This time, take your right hand to your left knee, left hand behind you. Lift the spine nice and tall, gentle twist. As you breathe, see if you can expand the belly. So you breathe into the twist. The twist provides that gentle resistance to help strengthen the action of the diaphragm and give you a stronger, more efficient breath. Come up through center, both arms reach, big inhale. And as you exhale, fold forward, rest the forehead on the hands. Feel that gentle stretch in the hips here. Slowly rise. As you're ready, we'll switch the cross of the legs so you have the opposite leg forward before we come into the second side. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Take your right hand out beside you. Left arm stretches up and over. See if you can rotate that top shoulder open. Really find some expansion in the left side body now. Inhale, come up. Keep your left arm reaching. Take your left hand to your right knee, your right hand behind you, gentle twist. So think of this as just warming the spine, kind of increasing the pathways for energy to flow before we come into our kind of more static postures. Inhale, come up through center, both arms reach. And as you exhale, fold once again. Rest your head on your hands. I love this practice, this type of practice. Inhale, slowly come up. For simply connecting to the ritual. So showing up in the same way you would for a workout, showing up for rest in that same way. So we're kind of creating that quality, that ritual here. So if you have your props, you can bring them close to you. Our first posture is a wide leg forward bend. So this one can be pretty intense depending on the work that you've been doing leading up to this point and kind of any tension or tightness you might have in the inner thighs. So first we'll set it up, press down into the floor to tilt forward on the front of your sitting bones. So you want the bowl of the pelvis to be tipping forward. You want to lift up through the spine, and then you can take your props and arrange them however you need to for support. So we're pressing down into the heels. You're energizing the legs by pressing the backs of the knees down into the floor. And here, as we come into the posture, so you can be on forearms, perhaps on your support, you might be on the lower level, or you might even just be resting your forehead on the block, which I think is the direction I'm going to take. So once you get into the posture, just focus on softening. So we often work on the effort portion of exercise, of our workouts. Here, can you focus on the ease? So even as you are engaging the legs to allow them to stretch safely, can you soften through the spine? Can you soften through the shoulders? Can you find a place that is sustainable for the next minute and a half or so? You can let the head and neck drop if that feels good to you. So scanning the body for any holding patterns you might have. Do you tend to hold your body in space to sort of resist that letting go? See if you can elongate the lower spine by shifting the pelvis forward, coming forward onto the very tip of your sitting bones. We'll be here in just under a minute more, really allowing your body to relax. And at the same time, can you energetically press the backs of the knees down? That'll help engage the quadriceps to signal the inner thighs, the hamstrings to release. And it may seem that you are just dropping into the posture at the 2-minute mark. So for that, I apologize. But we are going to slowly come out. So let your body lift up nice and slow. And then I'll be mirroring you in movement. So we'll take the left knee, bend it in beside you. So hug the heel toward the inner thigh and keep your right leg straight and strong. Here you might shift your props along the length of the extended leg. And then we're coming into a side bend. So we take that right arm down outside the right leg and then reach your left arm up and over. So we'll start with the arm overhead. That can be a long hold to have the arm extended in this way. So we'll start this way and then we'll shift about halfway through. I want you to really feel your left hip crease anchor into the earth. And then from that anchor point, stretch and extend in the opposite direction. And rather than crunching into the right side waist, can you think up and out like you're trying to elongate the crown away from the pelvis? If this is too much, you can always prop up that bottom arm. And then slowly bring your left hand down to your left hip crease. So apply some pressure with the heel of the hand into the hip crease. And then allow your right ear to just rest towards the right shoulder. So let your head hang heavy. Again, scanning for any holding patterns. So we're aiming to just be in these postures. We're releasing some of that effort in favor of the ease. That is one of the mantras for the premenstrual phase, for the early bleed phase, where we're just allowing the body to do what it knows to do best. And we just facilitate that through low intensity movement, through slow and steady breath. Let's connect with the breath again here. Inhale through the nose. And slow exhale. Opening the side channels of the body, these structures that help you stand taller throughout your day, that create more space for your vital organs. So know that there is purpose even in the gentle movement. It may not seem like the effort that moves the needle, but it is so important to lift your recovery efforts up to the same value that you hold for your workouts. Last big breath here, inhale. And slow exhale. Be gentle as you slowly come up through center, just acknowledging the change that you feel from one side to the other. You might have that tendency to want to sway a bit, to equalize, to recalibrate both sides of the body. And then we'll come back through center. We'll bend both knees now. I like to have a block between my feet for longer holds in Baddha Konasana, so in cobbler pose or bound angle pose. You can have the knees and the heels nice and close to the body, or for a longer hold, you might have a more open angle in the legs. And then we'll hug the hands onto the shins to elevate the spine. So feel that traction that allows you to stretch the bones of the spine apart. And then we'll slowly fold forward. So again, this is a longer hold. We'll be here about 2 minutes. You can rest your forehead on either your chair or your block. Maybe you have a pillow. And here, let gravity do most of the work. So we need not force the knees to lower down, but just give the weight of your legs over to gravity. So rather than holding in the hip creases or trying to maintain the position in space, can you just consciously let go and let the knees become very heavy? Sort of surrendering to the pull of gravity and allowing it to work for you. And in the same way we did with the wide leg fold, work to tilt your pelvis forward. That'll deepen the sensation in the hip creases, the inner thighs. And this one can be very soothing for lower back pain. Allows for gentle flexion without being overly activating or creating any compression. And then resting on the forehead. Anytime we apply pressure to the third eye space, that space between your eyebrows where we find the pineal gland, it can be very soothing, very relaxing, almost like a button you can press. So if you ever need that grounding force, just bring some gentle pressure to that space. You You soften the jaw, maybe move your mouth side to side. And then we'll slowly start to come out of this shape. And this time we'll bend the right knee in, extend the left leg long. So we'll come into the second side for our side bend. You can adjust your props as needed. And lift up tall through the spine. Keep that left leg extending and reach your left fingertips to the outside. Stretch your right arm up and overhead. So same thing on this side. We'll start with the arm extending, and we'll be here for a few breaths before letting that arm relax. So see if you can find the balance point between effort and ease here so that you're not straining. There's no struggle, but there is some effort. Really anchor the right hip crease into the earth. And from that place, lengthen up the right side of the body all the way to the right fingertips. You can take that right hand down, bring the heel of the hand to the hip crease. Wherever your left arm is, let it find that resting place. And then let your left ear drop toward the left shoulder. So you're creating space in the neck, this space where our voice resides. So opening the neck and shoulders can help you feel more articulate, can create space for energy to flow freely from the heart to the head. So you just feel more integrated when you have space in that energetic center. And this can be a nice practice during the premenstrual phase if you have any brain fog or you're feeling sort of that fuzziness. And just opening and closing the throat, creating more space there can help alleviate some of that fogginess. You might shift the chin side to side. So even though these are static holds, they don't have to be completely stoic. So we can find that pulse, that slow pulse that continues to move through even in the stillness. Be here a few breaths more. If you need to, you can even rest your head on your hands. If you have the support high enough under that left arm, just a place where you can receive the side body opening without strain. Last big breath here. And slowly again, carefully coming up, maybe even with some support as you equalize both sides of the body. So we'll shift our props just a touch here. We are preparing to enter half pigeon pose. So lots of progressions for this posture depending on where you are in your practice, where you are on this day. So I'm going to shift my blanket to provide some cushion under the front leg. We'll take the right knee and bring it onto the cushion or into the front of your mat. Extend the back leg long. So actually, I'll show you the first progression before we extend the leg long in case you'd like kind of a softer side of half pigeon pose. So you can take this zigzag shape where you have sort of the knees bent in a zigzag, and we're coming into the forward bend here. So if you have tight hips or a tight low back or you're experiencing any pain, this can be a great option for half pigeon. And then I would use the props for your forehead, maybe providing, again, that pressure on the third eye. If you're wanting a deeper facilitated stretch, we're coming with the back leg straight. So as you set this posture up, turn the back toes down, make sure your knee is pointing down. That drops the back hip into alignment. You can aim for the front shin to be parallel to the short edge of your mat, but if that's too intense, you can always draw that heel in close to your body. We're looking for ease here, so let it not be too strenuous or create any strain. And then we'll slowly start to fold forward into your pigeon pose. We'll be here again for about 2 minutes in this posture. So a few things that we can do to actively relax, which might sound a bit counterintuitive, but the more that you can press the top of your left thigh down, so the more that you can anchor that back leg, the more that you can soften into the front hip. So aim to square the hips as best as you can. And then notice the ebbs and flow of sensation. So at first, it might feel very, very intense. Your body sort of responds to protect your muscles in the presence of that intensity. And then as you start to breathe through, as you sort of send the signal to your body that it's safe, it's secure, then you start to feel more of that relaxation. Rest your forehead if you need to. And notice any places, again, where you might be holding. So for me, after some workouts this week, I feel the outer hips pretty intensely in this posture. And I notice a gripping in the pelvic floor where it's sort of that Kegel contraction that happens instinctively. So it's a conscious relaxing of the glutes, of the base of the pelvis. And we do that through the breath, so in and out through the nose. Let's take one more deep cleansing breath here on this side. And release. Slowly start to lift your way out of pigeon pose. We'll come on to hands and knees. And so between sides here, just swaying the hips side to side, again to equalize both sides of the body. And our next position will be child's pose. So let the big toes come to touch, knees nice and wide, and then soften your hips to your heels. If this is too much flexion in the knees, you can always be in more of a puppy pose, or you can bring a blanket underneath the sitting bones on top of the heels to provide a bit of elevation. Otherwise, we're sinking the hips to the heels, resting the torso down. You can create a gentle bend in the elbows, so we need not be stretching too far with the arms, or creating any strain there. Really, we're looking for relaxation, for that inward pull. Can you breathe into the back body? So really inflate the lungs so that you feel that expansion across the entire back. And with your exhales, just listen to the sound between your body as it reverberates back and forth. Same as we've been doing, just scan and look for any areas where you might be holding. So even as you rest the hips on the heels, is there that tendency to want to hold them in space, to hold them off the heels just a touch? So can you completely let that go? Can you soften the heart, belly, chest toward the earth? Maybe even bring an ear to the mat. Just finding these little shifts that you can make to relax more deeply. Can you broaden the pelvic floor? So relax that Kegel contraction. Think the opposite. So expansion, lengthening, broadening, widening of the pelvic floor. This is great work in preparation for your flow days, where we want to relax the pelvic floor to facilitate healthy flow. Just using the breath to create that invitation in the base of the spine. Let it open. We'll enjoy one more deep breath here in child's pose. And slowly work your way back up. We're coming into half pigeon on the second side. So know that you can take the same version or a different version on this second side. We're looking for balance, but really treating both sides of the body with their own unique patterns. So if you need to make a change on this side, feel free to do so. If you have that back leg extended, once again, keeping the toes, knees, and hips pointing down. And just acknowledge any change you feel on this side, so it might feel a little bit different. Once you get into position, folding over that front leg, resting the forehead if you can on a prop or maybe even in your hands. So you can even just bring the hands, the palms together and rest your forehead on your thumbs. The prop is a little bit easier to kind of give the weight of your head over to. So finding that deeply relaxing place, maybe anchoring the top of the right thigh into the earth. That deepens the sensation in the outer left hip. And then using the breath to signal to your body that it's okay to relax, it's okay to let go. I always used to sort of bristle in yoga class when I would hear, breathe into your hips. It just felt anatomically like an impossibility. But when you deepen the breath so much that the diaphragm descends, it descends all the way down in the torso, that literally does create more space in your hips. It creates more expansion in the pelvic floor. So it is truly possible to breathe into your hips by virtue of expanding the lungs. So can you try that here? Just inhaling deeply, so deeply that the belly expands. And through that belly expansion, we have more space than carved out in the hips. You might have heard me say it before, but pigeon pose is one of those that starts in the moment that you feel like you want to exit the pose. So see if you can breathe through that edge and sort of shift it just slightly to deepen your sensation here. And we've got just under a minute more. Relaxing the back of the neck, softening the shoulders. Again, relaxing any areas of holding, of tension. Last big, deepest breath here through the nose. Inhale. And exhale completely. So really allow your lungs to empty all the way out. The heart slows on the exhale. So the more that we can lengthen that exhale, the more we tap into our inner calm, that slowing of the heart down. Bring your back knee in, slowly rise up. You can come into a cross-legged position. And we'll shift, if you have a blanket underneath you, just shift it off to the side for a moment so that it's out of your way. And as we close our practice now, we'll kind of add just that little bit of movement to promote circulation and kind of bring the body back into balance before we rest. So coming into tabletop, tuck the toes under, take your arms out in front of you, wrists are ahead of the shoulders, and lift into downward dog. Pedal out the feet here, soften the heart, belly, chest toward the thighs. Let the crown of the head be that natural extension of the spine. Press down through all 10 finger pads. And just allow the upper back to round and extend. And just kind of working through increasing blood flow after those longer holds. Let the head move from side to side. And then slowly touch the knees back down. We'll lower all the way onto the belly now. And let your hands come out in front. You can pillow your head on your hands. We'll let the right knee slide out so that it's bent at 90 degrees. You have that external rotation in the hip. And bring your right ear to the mat. You can cactus your arms for a downward facing twist. So really anchor the inner thigh, inner knee to the mat. Feel your breath working against gravity in this downward facing position. And just allow your body to melt into the earth. So feel that sort of unwavering support from the ground underneath you. Bring your hands under your shoulders just to transition sides. So the right leg extends, left leg now bends out to the side at 90 degrees. Got the inner thigh pressing into the mat, inner knee anchoring down. Bring your left ear to the mat. You might even pillow your hands under your head. And look to equalize the hip points, so feel them both pressing evenly into the mat. You might even rock the sacrum side to side here. And just freeing, allowing it to realign. And hands under shoulders once again, just to help that left leg back. Pillow your head on your hands, or your hands under your head, and just start to windshield wiper the shins. Loosening the lower back. Letting it be free in relationship to the upper back. So we have these two kind of components of the spine that can move freely and give us so much range of motion. And then let your legs rest. Keep your head in your hands just for crocodile pose. This will be our final resting posture. We'll be here again 1 to 2 minutes, just allowing the body to be heavy. Coming back to that mantra of doing less and being more. So in the stillness of this resting pose, this downward facing Shavasana, how can you allow yourself to be? Without the need to change anything, allowing yourself just as you are. Feel a gentle sway again in the sacrum, letting the hips rock side to side. Maybe you do the same with your head and neck, just massaging the forehead on your hands. It sort of signals the muscles in the face to relax. So that even if you are feeling periods of stress leading up to your menstrual phase, you can sort of create that sense of ease, that relaxation through your movement that might influence your inner chemistry. So it helps kind of alleviate inner stress, internal stress, so that you can drop more deeply into relaxation. We'll take one more big breath together here, in through the nose. And sigh it out, make a sound. Let your hands gently come under your shoulders. And without urgency, without rush, we'll slowly press up and transition to a comfortable seat. So make that journey however it feels most natural for you. And then from this comfortable seat, maybe bringing a hand to heart, a hand to belly, just noticing any change you feel in your energetic body. So in the absence of sort of that intense exertion or the workout that you know you can feel, that you've sweated through, how can you create that same relationship to an energetic shift? And so what has come of your practice? What changes have you noticed? Where do you feel it in your body, in your heart, in your mind? This is the upgrade to intuitive self-care. So really celebrating your efforts, celebrating your having shown up to this practice today. That is the end of our time together. I want to thank you so much for joining me during this time in your cycle where movement is truly medicine. I thank you so much for being here and for letting your body be moved.